We are one in harmony, singing in celebration. We are one in harmony, singing in celebration. We are one, singing in celebration. We are one, singing in celebration. Who we are is ever free, one with all creation. Who we are is ever free, one with all creation. We are one, singing in celebration. We are one, singing in celebration. We are one in harmony, singing in celebration. We are one in harmony, singing in celebration. We are one, 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 singing in celebration.
Thank you, Laura Berryhill and Anton Miserak. And hello, everyone. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Rogue Valley in Medford, Oregon. I'm Kimberly Hawkins, Spiritual Director here. And as always, we're delighted to have you join us, whether it's live on Facebook or YouTube, or whether you're watching this later this week on one of our recordings. We are so glad to have you join us, and we welcome you no matter where you may happen to be on your own personal spiritual journey. We are an inclusive and progressive spiritual community, and we teach tools to both transform our personal lives and help create a world that works for everyone. In addition to our Sunday crew, we have with us this morning Reverend Dr. Linda Rapond, who is our practitioner. And as I mentioned earlier, Laura Berryhill and Anton, our musicians. Holding high watch from home is our practitioner, Wendy Wellborn. So I invite you now to take a collective deep breath as we go once again to our musicians to prepare us for our invocation and reading.
Silently within me flows a sweeter song than I can sing. Silently within me flows a sweeter song than I can sing. More than melody, strong and unhurried, a keynote of change in the ways of the world. Time, the sound beyond sound. Silently within me flows a sweeter song than I can sing. Silently within me flows a sweeter song than I can sing. My life in harmony with all life, and the life beyond the life, beyond the life, beyond the life. Silently within me flows a sweeter song than I can sing. Silently within me flows a sweeter song than I can sing. A note, a chord, a symphony Silently within me flows a sweeter song than I can sing silently.
Anton and Laura, thank you so much. That was beautiful. As always, let's just begin our service with prayer. So just join me as you turn within. And attuning our minds, our hearts, our beings to the infinite presence that is already here, in, around, through, and as each of us. That infinite presence inhabits our being. And we take this time to just awaken to that as our truth. That is so good. Just feeling the presence of the infinite wrapping us in deep wholeness and oneness. So I just give thanks for this day, for this service, for all that have made it possible. Blessing the technicians that are working to have the sound and camera and everything working smoothly. For our musicians, Anton and Laura, for our minister, Reverend Kimberly, I know that this day is blessed and that everything that unfolds in this service is for the highest and best good of every single person who has made their presence part of our community today. I give thanks. I bless it all. I call it good. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. I have a reading. Well, all right. I forgot that I can't read when it's way down there because never mind. I'm reading today from Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Science of Mind teaching, and nobody says it better than him. So I always keep coming back to this book, the Science of Mind textbook. One of the first things to do is to love everybody. If you have not done this, begin to do so at once. There is always more good than bad in people, and seeing the good tends to bring it forth. Love is the grandest healing and drawing power on earth. It is the very reason for our being. And that explains why it is that people should have something or someone to love. The life that has not loved has not lived. It is still dead. Love is the sole impulse for creation. And the man who does not have love as the greatest incentive in his life has never developed the real creative instinct. No one can swing out into the universal without love, for the whole universe is based upon it.
With a little love, we make our spirits light. With a little luck, we see the forest and the trees. With a little joy, the horizon is not so distant. Take my hand and you'll see. Step by step by step, 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 step by step into that sunlit grove. Step by step, we ford the middle stream. Step by step, we rise again, turn our talents into dreams and make them real. With a little love and peace and joy deepening inside us, so we can know we're part step, step by step by step, step by step by step, step by step by step.
Thank you once again, Laura and Anton. The suggested theme for Centers for Spiritual Living across the globe this month is going further together. Going further together. And I gotta admit, well, I don't have to, but I want to admit, I've had a grammatical debate about that in my head because I am a grammarian, former English teacher, I can't help it. Is it going further together or going farther together? Farther, probably you know, usually refers to physical distance. We hiked farther today than we've ever hiked before. Further is more conceptual, more all-inclusive. So we might say, for instance, we'll discuss this matter further at our meeting this Wednesday. And so as I debated with this in my head, I decided that it's correct. The title is correct because we not only can step farther together, but we can go further together on every dimension and every way possible we could be talking about it. Physically, spiritually, emotionally, etc. We can go further as we go together, as we move together. There's a wonderful African proverb, alone we can go faster, together we can go further. And I love the story you may have heard about an anthropologist who invited a bunch of children in an African tribe to engage in a little activity. He put a basket of fruit under a tree nearby and said the first one to race to the tree and to make it to the tree gets to keep the whole basket. And so ready, set, go, or the equivalent, he started them off expecting them to take off at a fast pace, and instead they all looked to each other collectively, joined hands first, and ran to the tree and then sat under the tree enjoying the fruit together. And he asked them, why did you run like that? And they went, Ubuntu, which is an African principle. They said, how can one of us be happy when all the others are sad? How can one of us be happy when all the others are sad? And I think how appropriate that is for the times we're living in right now. You know, as a former counselor, as a former therapist, I'm thinking how much, at least I know I have practiced this, and I'm guessing almost everyone has, of kind of shutting out the collective pain that's going on in our planet. There's so much, you know, when you think about the pandemic, people dying apart from their loved ones, healthcare professionals so stressed and so emotionally overwrought with what's going on. Not to mention in our own country, the tremendous division that's happening. You know, I think sometimes to survive it all, we kind of brush it, we brush the pain under the carpet. But how can we be happy when so many people are sad? What I think about all this on a more positive note is that this is coming up, and I know we've talked about this before. All of this is coming up, all this tremendous pain and division, because it's the shadow side we all need to heal, and we can't do it individually. We have to do it collectively. I was thinking about this idea, like the children, of independence versus interdependence. And I'm not an anthropologist, I'm not a historian, but it seems to me that way back when, if you go back in history, as a human race, we were collectively called to live thinking about the good of the group. I mean, think about the days of hunters and gatherers. The men hunted, the women gathered, and it wasn't, I'm bringing home meat for my family and you're bringing home herbs for your family. It was, we all did it together, and collectively we survived. Until the Industrial Revolution, I think it was much more a collective society. But now we're in individual households by and large, especially in Western cultures. More so in Eastern cultures do they still have an idea of interdependence and collectivism. But you and I, most of us, depending on your particular family cultural tradition, most of us were raised with ideas like the value of rugged individualism, survival of the fittest, self-made men and women. You know, it's important to be strong and make it on your own, lone wolf kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with being strong and developing your talents. But as Reverend Linda read in the quote from Ernest Holmes, we miss out when we forget about the importance of love and unity. We truly, truly miss out. I had an experience of this difference between interdependence and independence when I was a young adult. When my husband and I bought our first home, which was such an exciting thing to do, in Phoenix, Arizona, we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of the tools we needed to, work on the car and the yard and all the things you do when you own a home. And we lived in a neighborhood that was pretty mixed class-wise. We had a veterinarian and his wife and family that lived on one side, and more people that you would say were working people. And all of them were so embracing of us as a young couple and lent us tools and advice and brought us food. And it was just a welcoming, collective feeling living in that neighborhood. And as we made more money and sort of, rose on the whatever you call it, the corporate ladder, we moved into bigger homes in nicer neighborhoods. And each time it seemed there was less of that community feel and collectivism and more of individual lives being led behind closed doors. The last home we owned together, we built a custom home in a really upscale neighborhood. And I experienced both the collective feel and the individual feel. And let me tell you what happened. The first day we went out to visit the lot we had purchased, neighbors next door came over, and I was all excited to meet our neighbors. And I thought, we'd get to know each other a little bit. And the very first question this couple asked us was, so how many square feet you building? And I realized they were concerned about the value of their property and what our property would do to enhance or detract from theirs, and it just felt so deflating. But later on, when we actually moved in, that same couple came and delivered to us a basket, a welcome basket with a big honey-baked ham. I have not forgotten this. This was many years ago. A big honey-baked ham in a basket with a red, check little napkin, and bread and mustard. And you know what it's like when you move into a house and you're unpacking and you don't have time to cook. We lived off sandwiches from that ham for the better part of a week, and I was very grateful. But that neighborhood, pretty much, we didn't see our neighbors. We drove into the driveway, clicked the garage door opener, drove into the garage, and just went into the house. And especially in the summer in Phoenix, Arizona, you don't see people. And to me, that was sad. There was something missing there. And I'm not saying it can't happen in more wealthy neighborhoods. Certainly connection can happen, but the training, and it just seems like we're inculcated with that idea of worrying about me, worrying about mine, and not worrying about ours. And there's something about our reptilian brains, that we focus sometimes on scarcity. I have to make sure I'm okay, and we focus on fear of things happening rather than thinking about the collective. Asking for help is another thing. Do you ever notice how many of us are reluctant, including me, to ask for help when we need it? And how usually when we are asked for help, we're glad to lend a hand. So it's an interesting state of affairs we're in here. Interdependence versus dependence. I read a blog by someone named Austin Strong, and I'm just going to read you a quick paragraph here. He said, human beings crave connection, contribution to something bigger than self and community. We're born into the world this way, and yet we've been conditioned that accomplishment and success come from operating from independence. Our default human operating system, our reptilian brain, is wired for protection, safety, and independence, when at our core, and this is the best sentence here, at our core, in our soul, we seek belonging, meaning, and interdependence. So when we come from a place of interdependence, rather than being judgmental, we practice acceptance. We practice listening. When we come from a place of interdependence, we come from a place of abundance, knowing there's enough if we share, that everyone can be taken care of. This is the very root of our global vision that we practice in Science of Mind. And I'll just read a portion of that, but let me do that in a moment. You know, having all this percolate in my head this weekend, I had lots of powerful dreams last night, but I want to share two of them with you because I think that they apply to what I'm talking about here. If I can remember them now, I write them down. You know how it is, a dream flits away. The first one, I was on a beach somewhere, and there was a plane flying overhead. You know how sometimes planes fly over the beach with banners? There was a guy up in the plane, or a girl, I don't know, with a banner waving and advertising that he was going to drop a gift to the earth. And so we're all looking up, anticipating this gift, and it falls right in front of me. And it's this big bin. This is all in the dream. It's this big bin wrapped as a gift. And I unwrap the gift. And inside, it's a bin of toys, plastic toys, big toys, like a helicopter and a baby carriage. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, I got to find out somebody who would enjoy this. These are gifts. I don't have kids right now. And so I go next door, and I find a family, and there are two children, a boy and a girl, and I tell them, pick out one gift. You can have one. Pick out the one you like the best. And so they're looking at the toys, and they're all delighted, and the boy says, can I have 4? Which is kind of interesting. And I said, well, pick out one for now. And after they pick out the gifts in the dream, I go to the mom, and I say, I have this whole bin of toys. I'm going to give them to you. And feel free to either give them to your children if you don't have enough Christmas gifts for them, or perhaps give them to a toy drive. And she looks at me in the dream and she says, what makes you think that giving them away to children that need them more would give me less pleasure than keeping them for myself and my family? I went, wow. And isn't that true? I mean, if we have enough, isn't the joy of life, isn't the way to be in keeping with our souls to share and to think about we instead of me? I guess I forgot to mention that the talk title is We is Greater Than Me. So when we focus on we, what's good for us, there's a bigger synergy happening for everybody on the planet than when we focus on serving just me and mine. So our global vision, I just love this. I'm going to read a very abbreviated version and just part of it, but the global vision says this: we see a world that works for everyone, and this is the vision of our Centers for Spiritual Living denomination, where all life is honored as an expression of the divine, where we live as one global family, where kinship with all of life prospers, where unity and connection are emphasized, where forgiveness is the norm, spiritual guidance is valued, where we are called to conscious social action, where people have enough food, homes, and a sense of belonging, where there's peace, harmony, and justice for all. Resources are valued, cared for, and shared. Communities are meaningfully involved in service to the world, where there's renewed emphasis on beauty, nature, creativity, art, and aesthetics. We envision a world that works for everyone and all of creation. Wow. In the Bible, in Corinthians, there's an absolutely beautiful passage, and I hope I have it here somewhere. Maybe I don't. Yes, I do. Paul says, and I invite you even maybe to close your eyes and just take this in. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I have nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. And one more powerful passage from Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. Someday, after mastering the winds, the waves, the tides, and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And then, for a second time in the history of the world, man will have discovered fire. Man and woman, I would say, will have discovered fire. I love that because, with all the discoveries and inventions and industrialization and creations we've done, where has love gone in the world? What have we done with it? I just feel like my heart's been opened up about this, and I've come to my tea this morning. My yogi tea, how they have little tags sometimes on the tea. It said something about the way to love what's going to be is to love what is now. And so I think it's about accepting what is exactly as it is right now, as hard as it is, and to take it as a call to action. What is it we can do to shift so that we do have love? With all the other getting and accumulating we have, that we have love in our hearts and in our practices. So in Science of Mind, we teach and know that our thoughts are creative. So while we talk about creating collectively and together, each of us individually has dominion over our thoughts. Reverend Elisha Christopher calls it our thoughtmosphere, that together we create this thoughtmosphere. And if the thoughtmosphere is positive and loving, things change. And so one of the things we can do is to change our thoughts and to change our speech. I love what Reverend Grace Lovejoy said a couple weeks ago in a talk. She shared that she's trying to eliminate the words you and they from her vocabulary. You know how it's easy to say they this and they that when we're talking about people who disagree with us about masks or vaccinations or politically, about voting rights and all that. It's quite easy to do that. They and you, you, when you do this. And so instead of pointing the finger and otherizing, she's making an effort to talk about we and us. And it's a much more inclusive frame of thought. I'll share something that a friend shared this week. There was somebody in a particular neighborhood that was kind of ostracized and not understood. He was different. He was somebody who was feeding wild animals in the neighborhood and not wanting people to have dogs in the neighborhood because they would disrupt the wild animals. And people were calling him by a name, a kind of a derogatory name. Like wild beast guy or something like that. And one of the young adults decided that wasn't quite right, that maybe if they called him St. Francis, it would transform the thoughtmosphere in that neighborhood. St. Francis, because the good part of him was that he cared about the wild animals and he was feeding them. And so what a beautiful shift. It's the kind of shift we can all make to change the thoughtmosphere, to literally change the world. Grateful for that one. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, said this: one life behind all that lives, one, never two. The unity of all life. To learn this is to know the secret of the ages. I think we've forgotten the secret of the ages in our culture, haven't we? And all that's happening is here so that we might learn it and relearn it again, I believe. I'm going to share one other part of my dream last night because it connects to one of the things I'm passionate about. In the dream, there were 3 rooms. We were back together as a community meeting, which I longed to do. And there were 3 rooms, one big room. There were people seated, scattered about, quite a few people, but scattered about in the room. And I remember feeling as we were about to begin the service that I wish people would get together and sit close and sit up front, which, people don't generally do in church. And then I realized that in the dream, that We may have to socially distance still when we come back. And then there was a second room. It was like an overflow room. And again, there were a lot of people in there, but not very close together. And there was a third room where there was a meeting going on at a table and some other people. And just in journaling about the dream this morning, I thought, okay, two things. One, I think it's an indication in my own psyche, and I'm guessing I'm not the only one, of this desire to come together again, not to have to be distant. So we are built for connection and sharing and collaboration. That's what our souls are built for. But the second thing I think it may have symbolized, at least for me, 3 different rooms. I have such a passion right now for interfaith work, because I truly believe that faith communities can come together to, I don't want to use the word fight. I want to say stand for justice, stand for climate action, stand for honoring all expressions of life, including humans and non-humans. And so the 3 different rooms, I think, to me, in some ways may have represented 3 different faith communities, and wishing we could come together to work together. So I want to invite you tomorrow, Monday, October 18th, there is a group called Green Faith that is sponsoring actions all across the globe, bringing all faith traditions together to stand for climate action. And right here in Medford, Oregon, and maybe in the city you're listening from if you're not from here, at noon tomorrow in front of the Jackson County Courthouse on the lawn, communities, all different faith communities are coming together. You can carry a sign or not, but the signs are about, taking climate action, saving the planet. The idea is that it isn't in keeping with our religions to destroy the planet and everything on it. So I'll be there. I hope that you may be able to join us. We're going to meet up near the corner of 8th and Oakdale, if you're here in the Rogue Valley, and stand in silent solidarity with other faith communities. And this is just one, I hope, of many ways we can come together, knowing that we is greater than me, to transform the world. How can one of us be happy when many others are sad? Another opportunity for connection is right after service today. This is Sunday, October 17th at 11:45. We're having a community connection call so we can talk about all of this that we've talked about today, and that we can share, do some personal sharing. It's so important. I know some of us are zoomed out and sick of Zoom. We have Zoom fatigue, but I still think it's important for us to join together and make connections. So just a reminder, together we can create a thoughtmosphere of love, connection, collaboration, community. I truly believe together we can go further. Let's pray. As I breathe and as I exhale, how good it is to remember that everything I breathe in, everything I breathe out, everything I breathe with is spirit, is love, is that creative intelligence, that everything is one. We are one. We are each beautiful, valued individual expressions of that one source, that one life, that one power. And we are here so it might know itself better as love, as unity, as harmony, as expansion. And so my prayer today is that each of us take to heart, open our hearts, even when it hurts. Because how can any of us truly be happy when so many are sad? And what is it we can do to shift our thoughts, to shift our speech, to shift our action? Each of us may have a different role to play. We can't do all of it, any one of us, but together we can. If we honor each one's gifts, if we drop judgments and learn to accept and value each person's gifts, just as that St. Francis man, instead of being ostracized, can be valued. If we truly learn not to point the finger, not to otherize, let us come together to remember that we're one, to remember that without love we have nothing. Let us trust that all of the chaos, all of the waves, all of the storms, all of the turmoil that we experience right now on earth, all of them have come to simply show us the shadow so that we might raise our thoughts, raise our vibration, raise our awareness together. And like those children in that wonderful story of the African tribe, we can learn to join hands, figuratively and literally, to walk together and to share all the good, all the bounty. There is truly enough for everyone to enjoy all the fruits God has meant us to enjoy. So blessing everyone right now who is experiencing pain, knowing that as our hearts open to them, it's a good thing because it reminds us that we are one. It reminds us that whatever is ours to do, we can decide to do. Blessing everyone who's affected by COVID, everyone who is homeless, everyone who is suffering in any form, in any country, in any way. Knowing if we practice this global vision, everyone benefits. We walk together, further together. In gratitude for this, in gratitude for this teaching, in gratitude for the spark within each of us that knows if we pay attention what is ours to do, I release this word into the law that always hears and says, yes, my beloveds, it is done and it is so. And we say together, so it is. Amen.
This moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love, love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love.
When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love, there is only love, love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love, and I hear this voice of love. It is singing through my life. It is all I am, every part of me. It is all I choose to be. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
love that heals, love that sets us free. Thank you, Laura and Anton. Time now in our service when we practice sacred giving. This is the time when we're reminded to be aware, conscious, and thankful of all the good that flows into our lives, and to make a conscious decision to share a portion of it to those places where we're spiritually fed. So first, a huge thank you to all of you who have continued to support CSLRV during these little crazy times. We so appreciate that. I invite you to say our affirmation with me now, if you will. Graciously I give from a place of love, knowing that as I give, so do I richly receive. Ain't that the truth? Several ways you can support CSLRV. On our website, www.cslroguevalley.org, there is a donate button. There's also a donate button on our Facebook page if you're watching there. Or you can mail a check the old-fashioned way to CSLRV, P.O. Box 1458, Medford, Oregon, 97501. We do have a few announcements. The most timely is right after this service this morning at 11:45. We have a community connection call on Zoom. The links were in this week's newsletter and last week's newsletter. I just reposted them this morning on both of our Facebook pages, Center for Spiritual Living Rogue Valley, CSL Rogue Valley. Yeah, we'd love you to join us. I think Wendy Wellborn is actually going to open the line at 11:30. And it's time to just think together about what we've talked about this morning and then to just check in. How are you? A time to kind of metaphorically join hands and reconnect. So I hope you'll join us. I'll be there as soon as I can. If you want to sign up for our newsletter, you can do that on Facebook under email, or you can send us an email at cslroguevalley@gmail.com. We'd be glad to add you to the list for our weekly e-newsletter that comes out each Wednesday. Don't forget the interfaith call to action tomorrow at noon at the courthouse lawn in Medford in Jackson County. We're going to stand for climate action now. I forgot to mention earlier, the reason we're doing this now, that Green Faith is supporting this action now, is that later this month, there's a meeting for the UN about climate change. And so we're standing in solidarity, encouraging climate action, not just talk. So that will be a wonderful experience for anybody who can join us. As always, if you have a prayer request, we are honored to pray for you or anyone you want to request prayer for. There's a prayer request button on our website. And I think that does it for announcements for now. We go now for our closing song, once again, to Anton Miserak and Laura Berryhill.
great family.
So, before we say goodbye, I want to acknowledge our dedicated Sunday team of volunteers that make this broadcast possible. Today we've had Jason Rummel and Ben Rummel, Bill and Connie Miner, Vivian Lacey. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Our sound engineer, as always, is Tom Frederick. So thank you so much to all of you for your sacred service. And as we close, just a reminder that we is always greater than me. Alone, we might be able to go faster momentarily, but together, we always go further. And so, in any way we can practice that this week, we create a thoughtmosphere of love. Namaste, my friends. Thank you for joining us.